There we go. So hi, everyone. Again, this is our agenda. We have 5 main points. First being the welcome. Second being talking about the Pueblo del Rio greening project. We'll go into it a little bit more. We will also have a presentation by Gama Vargas of Northeast Trees. It's a partner organization who's part of this project. With us, he'll talk a bit about how using plants can help conserve energy around the home and around the city. We'll talk a little bit about energy conservation and strategies that everyone can use in order to reduce how much energy we use. And lastly, we're going to talk about Los Angeles Department of Water and Power programs that are designed to help you reduce your energy use and save money. They have different programs that can help you with buying appliances or replacing things in the home that will help you save energy and also save money. Now, so I guess raise your hand if you live in Pueblo del Rio. I'd use a raise hand feature in Zoom if you'd like. Great. 2, 3, 4, 5. Great. Yes, we have 5 people have raise their hand that you live in Pueblo del Rio. Thanks a lot. I guess, and now second, just want to know if you do not live in Pueblo del Rio but live in the neighborhood around, could you please raise your hand? Okay. Yes, I think this meeting is primarily attended by people who live in Pueblo del Rio. That's great to know. Very good to know. So before we go any further, I'm going to introduce some of the members of the team. First, there's David de la Cruz, who is one of the co-founders of the Urban Studio. Would you like to say something, David?
Sure. Thanks everybody for dropping by. Super excited to be kicking off these workshops. We have some really great content to be sharing with you all about water and energy conservation, and also really excited to be kicking off this work to complement some renovations that are just much needed, and super excited to be coming to the LA Wellness Station right on 54th and Long Beach. So as part of this work, you will be hearing more about just other projects related to greening happening in Pueblo del Rio. And specifically, we'll hear more about renovations at the wellness station. So really excited to have you all join us. And as I was mentioning earlier, really excited about the ideas that the youth are already coming up with. There was an exercise where youth were able to imagine a little bit about what the renovations could be at the wellness station. And we'll be sharing that at the 3rd workshop, basically at the end of August.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Diego Renteria. I'm a project coordinator. I'm working on this project for the Urban Studio and helping to run it day to day. We also have, as Avi mentioned, we have a youth team. These are 6 youth, all of whom live in Pueblo del Rio.
1 second. I see that Yolanda is now unmuted. Buenas tardes, Yolanda.
Sí.
Ya veo que sí nos escucha.
Sí, estamos escuchándolo, nada más que en inglés, porque no pude entrar al español. Ya le puse en el mundo y le di en donde hice interpretación y le puse el español, pero no sé por qué no lo agarra.
¿Qué será?
Extraño.
Porque dice audio original, inglés, español y luego silenciar el audio original. Son las 4 cosas que dice y yo le puse en español, pero como que no entro.
Sí, póngale el español, por favor, y también silencie el audio original para que no nos escuchen nosotros en español, en inglés digo.
Ah, ok. Silenciar audio original.
Ajá.
Ok. ¿Y ahora?
Tocar el de español.
No sé, no sé si nos escucha, pero
Sí, sí,
Cu-
estoy escuchando.
sí. Entonces, cuando selecciona y tiene el check mark en en el español, me imagino que ya va a escuchar allí.
Sí lo tengo en español. Entonces a lo mejor ya voy a escuchar.
A ver, Elizabeth,
Ustedes ahorita yo los escucho bien.
eh, yo te escucho a ti.
Sí, yo
Yolanda,
también.
entonces, ¿no escucha a Elizabeth? Elizabeth,
No, estoy escuchándolo a usted.
qué extraño. Si puede seleccionar, si puede poner el clic
La
como
palomita.
ajá, para que se vea la check, para que no se vea azul.
El clip.
Ajá, con el mouse.
O es que estoy viendo en el teléfono.
Mm, Sí, porque ahorita yo escuché a Elizabeth y estoy en el canal de español. No sé si todavía me escucha a mí.
Sí, lo sigo escuchando a usted.
Aquí estoy yo en el canal de español y veo que se ve un círculo y dice ES español.
Sí, ya lo tengo en español, pero los veo a ustedes. Sí estoy viendo la carpeta que están mostrando y todo, pero no los oigo hablar a ustedes. No en español.
Deja ver si se escucha. Elizabeth, por acaso, mm, eh, ¿cómo lo podemos hacer?
Pues, si quiere
Entonces,
agarro nomás lo que pueda agarrar, pues lo que vaya yo, no entiendo mucho, pero pues aunque sea poquito que agarre.
no, deja ver si me puede hablar a mi número de teléfono allá abajo.
¿Quién es Gama Vargas?
Sí,
Gamas va a ser un presentador para hoy.
Ah, porque sale él aquí.
ujú.
Si me puede hablar a mi número de teléfono, yo voy a tratar de ayudarle en el teléfono. ¿Sí está bien?
Está bien.
All right.
Right,
I'll troubleshoot and then you can continue.
I'll continue then, or should I wait for her?
Ya no le doy ese número.
El número ahí está todavía mero abajo.
David?
Sí, lo ando buscando, no se preocupe.
David, would you like me to continue or should I wait?
If you can continue, and then I'm just gonna mute Yolanda and then troubleshoot with her.
Okay. Great. Okay. Sorry about that, everyone. It's a new system. We're figuring it out. But as I was saying, we have, as part of this project, we hired 6 youth who live in Pueblo del Rio to be part of this, the youth team. Now, what the youth team is doing, they were selected from over 20 applications. They are part of this group. They are learning about careers in urban planning, landscape architecture, the environment, and how changes in the designs of cities can improve the quality of life for everyone, regardless of where they live, of their income, or how they live. So the 6 members are Sandy Garcia, Leslie Germán, Uciel Marquez, Helsi Ramos, Fernando Rivas Flores, and Tanaya Rush. So they've been a help so far. We've been working with them, and they're going to help us in the next as this project moves on. So I'm very happy to have 6 residents of Pueblo del Rio who can be part of this project and work with us. A little bit about the Urban Studio. It is a nonprofit of professionals in art and design. It was founded by 6 people, David de la Cruz being one of them. And their work is to ensure that everyone can live in healthy, vibrant, and just communities. And the Urban Studio believes that those who will be most affected by design decisions must be key members of the design team. And that also means that we should engage with residents of all ages, backgrounds, and experiences. So that's kind of what controls what it is that the Urban Studio does. If you want to learn more about the Urban Studio, you can visit the website, theurbanstudio.org. David, Yolanda is in the waiting room. Should I let her in? Okay, I'll let that. Right, the Urban Studio. And one thing I forgot to say is that most of the members of the Urban Studio are in the East Coast, either in Baltimore or DC. So, but there are some projects on the West Coast, but primarily they're in East Coast group. Now, the Pueblo del Rio Greening Project will redesign the landscaping around the wellness station at the corner of 54th and Long Beach. This is a photo I took from Google Street View. It's right next to the blue line or A line tracks here on the right. Now, this landscape renovation and tree planting project is part of a larger tree planting project in the neighborhood that's led by Northeast Trees. We're going to talk more about this wider project in the second workshop in 2 weeks. So please join us in 2 weeks. The Pueblo del Rio Greening Project is part of a wider urban greening program, as I mentioned, and it includes many collaborators, Northeast Trees being the chief one. It's a community-based grassroots environmental nonprofit organization in Los Angeles. This project is funded primarily by a grant from the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. And also we have two additional partners, one being the Los Angeles Wellness Station, where the renovation or redesign will take place. And also the Housing Authority of the City of Los Angeles, who is the owner and operator of Pueblo del Rio. So thanks to both of them. Ms. Martin, who runs the wellness station, will also present at the second workshop in 2 weeks. So please join us there so you can hear some words from her too. She's a great person, and I'm sure she's excited to hear more about this and hear about it from you. Talking about the schedule, we have 3 workshops. Today is the first workshop. And we also have, each workshop happens twice each week. So as you can see, one is on it's on a Tuesday and then on a Saturday. Both workshops will have the same information. So if you can't make one, feel free to make the other one. You'll get the same information. So we have the 2 workshops for this week right now on Tuesday, but also this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. The second workshop, which is about water conservation, that will be in 2 weeks. That's August 10th from 6 to 8, or Saturday, August 14th, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. We're going to talk about water conservation and landscape design, trees, plants, how we can do it to save as much water as possible. But also we will start talking about the survey. As part of this project, we have an anonymous survey in both English and Spanish to learn from the community what it is they would like to see at the wellness station. Whether it's more trees, different types of plants, smells, etc. The survey will be an opportunity for you to directly influence the design sketches and the final design, because we will be basing the final design, taking all this feedback from the community about what they would like to see and see what it is that we can do in this space. So if you want to learn or see the results of the survey, that's the third workshop. That's August 24th from 6 to 8 p.m. or August 28th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. So please, join us for these workshops whenever it is that you can. Feel free to join. It'd be great to have you here. And if you want to share, please feel free to share. We're here to hear from you. Lastly, for now, all the workshops will be on Zoom, because of COVID. If something changes, we'll let you know. But for now, everything will be on Zoom. And, we will figure out so that the system works a bit better and then the future workshops. If you have any feedback for us, please let us know. You'll have my email address at the end, so you can feel free to email me or you can write it in the chat box. Please feel free. So now we're going to have Gama Vargas from Northeast Trees. Will introduce himself and also talk a bit more about Northeast Trees and what they do, but also discuss the connection between vegetation and energy conservation. If you want to learn more about Northeast Trees, you can visit their website. It's northeasttrees.org. They're very well known throughout LA and they're very well respected. They do a lot of great work. So now, Gama, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. It's actually really exciting to, be in a meeting with a lot of folks from Pueblo del Rio. I think you all come from a very awesome community. And I also feel like you will be the leaders in LA of like what it means to, be like how to change the environment, right? Because you just have so many kinds of challenges that you have to confront and challenge and overcome, like the Alameda corridor, right? Well, I'm not going to get too into it, but my hat's off to you. I'm really happy to be here. I am from Northeast Trees. I'm going to turn on my I'm going to share my screen because I did like a little presentation and I kind of want to go through that. So let me share it now. All right. So can you see the screen? Are you looking at a big file or are you looking at the presentation? Oh, I'm not sharing.
Yeah, let me pause my share.
Okay.
I paused it.
It says I am screen sharing. I still can't see it. I can go without. I can continue. Well, we can figure it out, but I can continue talking. So we were founded by a retired horticulture teacher in Eagle Rock, which is in it's a neighborhood in Northeast LA. He retired and then he's like, I'm gonna plant 5 trees for the rest of my life until I die. And I think he achieved it and more, right? Because he, may he rest in peace. He passed away and his legacy is Northeast Trees. And since he when he retired, he became a licensed landscape architect. And then he's like, I'm gonna design and build parks, and he did that, and he planted the 5 trees every day. And then he started hiring folks, and his program ultimately turned into what it is today, for the most part, which is we design and build parks. We started off in LA by the LA River, and 20, 30 years ago, it was like all cement. It was tagged up, like our crews who planted trees, were like planting trees with like cholos and like folks like drinking or whatever. Now if you go to the LA River, like you'll see bougie places like coffee shops. It did not look like that when Northeast Trees started. And a big philosophy of our organization is that we are like from the community. Like Northeast Trees is from Nila. So I'm from Lincoln Heights. Oh, there he is. Okay. So yeah, that's him. Happy, like working. He always worked. He loved to work. So that's like an example of like, what some of the parks looked like before, right? But then, after, a little elbow grease, a little a little time, a little money, we got, some of these parks, and there's numerous, and I'm kind of gonna jump around a little bit to show you some more. And like I said, Scott Wilson was a teacher, so he always looked up to, folks that were like college age, 14 to 16 to 24, and he's like, working with the environment is a thing, and he showed them, and now we have like a lot of our folks we work with come from public housing. So our crew supervisor, he's from Willing Meads. It's called Dogtown. He worked at the National Park Services after coming through Northeast Trees, and now he's like really well known, right? Like he's from the projects, and like a lot of people from all over the U.S. respect his work for some of the stuff that he's done in the state of California. And then we have people that go to Urban Forestry Division of LA, Parks and Rec, and the list goes on. Universal Studios, the top guy that works with landscaping, Northeast Trees, right? And they just come from communities that are low income and immigrant people of color. Like that's a lot of who Northeast Trees is. Okay, so what is some of the stuff that we do, and what's one of the things that we're focusing on? Urban canopy inequity, and basically urban canopy means the amount of trees. And here you get two maps from two different neighborhoods. This is Echo Park, kind of by downtown LA, and this is Watts, which is south of Pueblo del Rio. Like that's like 10 miles south, or about 10 miles south of where you all are. And global warming. A lot of these trees are gonna capture carbon, and trees are a solution. But this is not the story. This is not what partially yes. And yeah, like I said, we hire and train young folks to work with the environment. And here you have like Juan, for example, giving out trees to residents. You have youth over here working at our native nursery, which if y'all want to see, you can check out. The invitation is open. There's some native habitat restoration, some tree planting. That one is in the San Fernando Valley, I think. Okay. They're giving away trees, they're planting street trees, right? Urban forestry. Okay, can I ask questions? And how much time do I have? Because this is, should we kind of like keep it going?
Feel free to ask a question.
Okay, so let me ask you all, what are some benefits of trees? You can type it or you can say it.
Yeah.
All right, I'm getting some answers. Shade, yes, that's a big one. All right, let me just read them. Clean air, that's right. And there's all kinds of messed up air, like different versions that we measure differently. Diesel, particulate matter, even dust is in the air. Okay, yeah. CO2, absorption, carbon sequestration. Yeah, that's a very big part of urban forestry. It isn't just planting trees. Like we really have to kind of like measure how much carbon is taken out of the atmosphere. And trees are a very efficient way to do it. Trees do many things. Anything else? I'm gonna one more guess. Okay, or answer. Okay, yeah, I'm getting some of the Yep. What is it? What does it do to the soil? It keeps it together, right? Y'all heard the Oklahoma Dust Bowl? No, that's all soil erosion. No roots. The wind breaks. That's right. Wind breaks. Yeah, yeah. And my favorite one is public health. Public health, like trees really do, like you don't even got to go to Yosemite. Like you can stand under a big tree in the public housing right now. Some of y'all live next to a big tree and you don't even know how much that tree has been taking care of your mental health. So it makes you less aggressive, not only you, but everyone else. It brings people together, and it's because of the shade, right? People like to hang out around shade, and when they get together, you have something called social cohesion. So better relationships. Okay, so yeah, so public health. And okay, let's get to the energy conservation. I'm gonna make this really quick. I'm gonna just talk on some scientific concepts that are not very well known, or maybe you did study these, but like I'm gonna kind of want to reinforce them. And I just want to talk about the science so that when you look at a tree, you can be like, you can kind of like think about how or why the tree is saving energy. So I got two kinds of trees here. Does anyone know what the differences. This is not a trick question. What's the difference between the trees? That's right. Yep, one has leaves and the okay, there you go. Okay, one got part of the answer right. Already got half of the answer right. So yeah, the difference is the leaves, right? Same tree, different seasons. Ah, that's yeah. That okay. That could also be it. So the difference is that the leaves. One of them has a drop and the other one doesn't. And you know, one of the benefits of the tree is just to provide direct shade, like an umbrella, right? So you shade the house, it's cooler. Obviously, we all know that. But there's a good difference between an evergreen and a deciduous tree. So on the left, let's just call that an evergreen. It never loses its leaves, right? So it will always shade your house. In January, in August, in October, it will always shade your house. Do you always want shade? On a cold day, do you want to be in the shade? You know, during winter, you know, when you're out celebrating Christmas, right? It gets really, really cold in LA. So what happens? Then you turn on the heater. Now you're using up energy, right? So if you put in a tree, make sure like, you know, that it's not going to cool your house too much in the winter. And how do you do that? You choose the right kind of tree. You avoid the evergreen and you go for the deciduous. And now over there, you can see the sunlight going through. In winter, that's nice, right? So learn the difference between an evergreen and a deciduous tree does matter when thinking about that, right? Which is the shade. Okay, let's go to the next slide. All right, so I'm gonna go back to science class. What is water doing in these three things? Can y'all guess? The one on the floor, what is that process called? What is the water doing? This one. Oh, this one. It is evaporating. And when the water comes down on the ground, it is called precipitation. And the third one, and the one I'm going to talk about, is transpiration, right? So not only does then that's when the water is going through the plant, right? It goes through the roots and then it comes out of the leaves. Not only is the tree shading your house, like by shade, when you're in LA, it doesn't get too cold. Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, in some parts of LA, it does, you know, like because Pueblo del Rio is closer, it's kind of closer to the coast. So you get some of that coastal air. And when you get that coastal air, it kind of calms it. Doesn't let things get too hot or too cold. That's why all the rich people live in the coast because it's always nice. It doesn't matter whether it's summer or winter, it's nice. But the farther away you go, like in San Bernardino, you know, or not even Pasadena, it starts getting cold, and it makes a difference to old folks. Like if old folks don't have good circulation, they get a little cold. Okay, so transpiration. That is a process that is called. Let me see. Well, transpiration is a cooling effect, right? So, I mean, you've all gotten wet in a hot summer day. So when you get wet, things transpire and then it's a cooling process, right? So the trees are always losing water, even on a molecular scale. But when you start having big trees, that molecular like quantity then becomes a significant difference. And when you have many big trees, now you have a bigger cooling effect, right? Because all these little leaves are losing water slowly. And that's a cooling effect. So not only do you get a cooling effect through shade, but also transpiration. The next one is photosynthesis. That chemical process is actually a cooling effect. So like some of the chemical processes that we use, like a car, when you turn gas into motion, that creates heat. That's why the hood of the car in your car is always hot when you drive it. But photosynthesis is actually an interesting and different process. When you photosynthesize, that's something that you call endothermic, and that is a cooling effect. So now you have three kinds of cooling effects from one tree, right? You have the the shade, you have the transpiration, which is like, you know, on a hot summer day, it's drying off of your skin, that's cooling. And now when it photosynthesizes and it takes all that carbon that, you know, you want out of the air and turns it into oxygen and food for itself, that is a cooling effect. So all of those things cool the building around it, right? And then cool your house. Do we have time, or how are we on time?
Yeah, we have a few more minutes.
Okay.
If you wish, yeah.
Okay, so I think those are the three. I think the important takeaway. I'm sorry for just dropping all this science, but like it that's why, right? It's not just shade, but like it has like more than one way of cooling the house, and that's why, you know, we're planting trees, and that's why DWP is like, yeah, I'll you know, I'll pay for these trees, and why it's giving away some of these trees, because when you start cooling things naturally, you don't need to connect it like an air conditioner to the power grid, right? You don't turn off trees, like they run on their own. And so and then once they run on their own, they have like these powerful cooling effects, and it's more than one. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is, and I want you to take away from this, you don't have to memorize this, like I haven't, but just know that this chart exists, and you can always refer to it when you kind of want to know, okay, where do I plant my tree? Because it does matter. So what we're looking at is a diagram of three squares, and we're going to focus on this one right here. And this is where you put a small tree. Each of these dark green lines is like 20 feet away, right? What if you plant 20 feet away from your house? And this is the house. What if you plant up to 30 feet? What if you plant up to 50? And as you can see, you know, they're not even measuring after 60. But you still can, right? But most of the trees are going to be planted within that distance. So the white tree means that this is going to give the most conservation to the house. And then each of these blocks is like the size of the tree. So I know it's a lot of numbers, but just stick with me. It's just the idea, right? So this first one is, what if you plant a small tree next to your house? Well, you have to plant it on the east or the west side to get any conservation, right? If you plant it on the north or the south, it's kind of like it doesn't really affect it, right? Now, if you get bigger trees, now you have more more room, right? Now you can put it on the northwest, you can put it on the southeast, or you can even plant it like 50 feet away from your house, right? And a medium tree is up to 40 feet. And then what if you put a large tree, right? You can now put it in multiple areas, right? But as you can see, the north side doesn't give you any conservation, right? So if you're gonna plant a tree and you're gonna think, oh, it's gonna save me, you know, energy, and you plant it on the north side, forget about it. That's not gonna happen. You're gonna get all the other benefits, right? You're gonna feel good, like, you know, after sitting under it after a long day, right? Want to feel a little better. You know, it's gonna do all these other things, but it's not gonna conserve energy, right? So just walk away, right, knowing that, you know, if you plant a tree on a certain, they call it the azimuth, right? On the north or the south or the west or the east, like it's going to give you different kinds of benefits. And it also depends on the types of size of the trees, right? And this is the answer for almost everything. The bigger the tree, the better everything. The bigger the tree, the better benefits. The bigger the tree, the more mental health benefits. The bigger the tree, and you can just go on and go on, right? So like the bigger the tree, the more energy conservation. And that's that. I think we're good. Does anyone have any questions on any of this?
Feel free to unmute yourself and ask any questions you may have from Gamma, or you can write them in the chat too.
Yeah.
I see a question that came in from Uciel on temperature in LA and whether or not it gets too cold, but I would suggest Uciel speak up and ask his question.
I think he already answered this one.
Okay.
When he mentioned the old folks and some places in LA Do you getting cold enough?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. My bad. I was just jumping
No,
in and out.
that's good. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's it's all environment. And I think that's what the environment, I mean, with anything horticultural or arboriculture, like every environment is different, right? Every plant is different, and it's about like matching it.
I guess one question that I have is maybe not something too relevant, but what about like spacing trees? You have this, but what if you have a property and if a tree is too close, it's like a fire risk. That's something we see in California. How do you balance the two, or do you just go for something that's larger and further away? Do you know anything, or how the two of them clash between wanting shade but also making
They
sure you don't
clash all the
have
time. Yeah, they clash all the time. There's all kinds of restrictions and spacing things. A lot of what a urban forester does, right? Like if you plant in Yosemite, you can plant a tree next to a tree. It doesn't really matter, right? Like they're all, but in LA, the tree shares space with everything else, right? Everyone with everything else, like your house, the underground utilities, gas, power lines, there's the fire safety, right? And so it's always a balance. And I think, one of the challenges is like, how do we make these environmental priorities more important, or yeah, prioritize it so then that, for example, like the city creates bigger parkways, right? Like, or bury power lines like they do in Beverly Hills or in Pasadena. Why don't they bury them here? Then we can put in big trees. We can't put in like big trees on their power lines because that would create an accident, for example, right? And so I would say that it's a push and pull. It's always a negotiation.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else have a question for Gamma?
Okay.
I see one. Does the fire risk correlate to the size of tree or the type of tree? I'm not a big expert. I mean, we have experts on fire. We actually we have firefighters that that fight fires that come into Northeast Trees, and they work as crew supervisors. So they may know a little better, but I don't think, I mean, obviously, if you have a bigger tree, you have more fuel. But then each tree then has more fire resistance. Some burn easier, some than others. Or some trees are like not from California, and then they dry out faster, and they're all just, it's just waiting to explode, right? Because it's super dry. So it does depend on the type of tree. I think I saw another question or comment. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Gamma, for sharing. Appreciate you taking time to
Yeah, thank you for
share your expertise.
having me.
Yeah, now let me share my screen. Give me a moment. There we go. Can everybody see my screen? All right,
Yes.
great. Cool. Well, again, thank you, Gamma, for sharing all of your information and your knowledge. And we're very glad that we're partnered with Northeast Trees, and an organization that knows so much, both not only on the natural side, but also on the social side of trees and nature in a city. So thank you. We have a short poll asking you to let us know how familiar you are with ways to conserve energy at home, but also to see if you're familiar with LEDWP's energy conservation programs. It just popped up in my Zoom, so I hope you can see it too. Take a few seconds or a few minutes to answer if you need it. It's just 3 questions, I believe.
We'll do them one at a time.
Okay,
So we can share back some of the results and then go from there.
all right, great. Debbie is running the poll, so he is a poll master.
All right, I'm seeing some confident responses, some quick confident responses and knowledge about the energy conservation programs. Love to see that. I want to get at least 2 or 3 other people to participate before we move on to the next one. So the question is, how well do you know the LADWP's energy conservation programs? Yeah, I can't really see who has or hasn't participated, but we can close this poll and then go on to the next question. Just give it 5 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, let's move on. So we got some folks that are fairly confident. Good to see that. I hope to continue building the confidence in you all with the support of Diego, just making sure you all are confident in multiplying the knowledge that we're sharing during these presentations so that everyone in your networks and your family knows more about ways that we can take advantage of LADWP's programs. So this next question is how confident you might feel in energy conservation practices at home. So it should be a pretty quick question to answer. We'll give it just a minute for folks to respond. All right. Somebody just prefers not to answer, no worries. How confident are you in the idea of conserving energy at home? All right, we got somebody that's somewhat confident. That's good to see, hoping to build that confidence, as I mentioned. All right, let's get at least 1 or 2 more participants. We can close it in the next 20 seconds. All right, we got one last question after this one, and then we can continue with the presentation. All right, so let's end the polling and move on to the last question. Knowledge of the energy bill that you get for your home. So how confident are you in understanding your energy bill that comes to your house? And it's okay to not be as confident, although these presentations don't necessarily cover reading your energy bill. We want to make sure that as we proceed and as we kind of talk about some of the different ways that energy conservation impacts Pueblo del Rio, that you all get more confident and more familiar with energy bills. So we definitely want to be able to plug any LADWP programs or contacts from LADWP that can help in either reducing your energy bill or participating in programs that can help you reduce your energy bill. So I'll leave it open for 10 more seconds before we close it and end the polling section of this presentation. All right. So there we go, ending the polling. So we have a pretty even split. Some folks are somewhat confident, and we have some folks that prefer not to answer, which is just fine. So I'll turn it back over to you, Diego.
great. Thank you. Thank you everybody for participating in these polls. So we've been talking a little bit about energy conservation, Gamma touched upon that. We've touched upon that too. We are going to talk a little bit about that, but talk about the urban heat island effect, because that influences a lot how it influences energy usage. We're going to talk about how that happens. So urban heat islands are, the definition of an urban heat island is developed areas, urban areas really, with higher temperatures than nearby undeveloped areas. So for example, buildings and roads, asphalt, absorb and reflect the sun's heat more than natural landscapes like trees, soil, even water. Urban areas where these structures, buildings, roads, etc., are hardly concentrated, and greenery such as trees, lawns, etc., is limited. These areas are islands of higher temperatures relative to other areas. So it just goes to show that how cities are built, the materials that are used, influences how hot it gets, and that shade is crucial in hot areas. Usually, this urban heat island effect is that during the day, it's 1 to 7 degrees higher in the heat island than it is in another area. And at night is usually 2 to 5 degrees hotter in this area than at night. In this chart, which is from this image on the left, which is from the Environmental Protection Agency, it just gives an example of how temperatures change within an area based on how built up it is. So rural areas at both edges are about 85 degrees Fahrenheit, but as you move closer to downtown, we have taller buildings, more roads, less trees, less greenery, less water. It gets up to 92 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 7 degrees higher, just being in this concentrated area. And it goes down based on how it looks. You know, a park could get down to about 86, but then suburban residential neighborhood, like Pueblo del Rio, other neighborhoods could get up to about 88. So it depends on how much space and greenery there is, and there are many other factors that influence the urban heat island. Here in this graphic circled in green, that's where Pueblo del Rio is. So you can see that Pueblo del Rio in relation to other parts of Los Angeles is generally hotter, or like a little bit hotter than average than other areas. As you can see, like here in the center, you can see the USC campus and Exposition Park are blue, you know, based on all the trees and the green space that there is there. But yeah, some of the factors that cause urban heat islands, like I mentioned, were a few natural features such as limited trees, limited vegetation, shrubs, flowers, etc., limited bodies of water, such as lakes or rivers. The materials that are used, they absorb and release solar heat more than they reflect. Also, the sizes and the spaces of buildings or between buildings, it can interrupt the flow of wind and trap heat. Other human activities such as driving, using air conditioning units, industry, etc., releases heat. You know, air conditioners, you know, they're working so they need to release emissions, and therefore they release some heat. But also weather and geography, those two are a bit harder to, well, much more harder to control. So trees and vegetation provide shade and retain moisture. Moisture evaporating from bodies of water like a lake or a river, lowers the temperature. So if on a hot day, if you've ever been walking around the lake or a river, you can feel it's a little bit cooler, even if there isn't shade. It's because of the water evaporation. There's more moisture in the air to cool you. And so one of the principles for the urban heat islands and materials is that it's better to reflect heat than to absorb it and then release it later. So what are some of the effects of these urban heat islands? Well, one of them, which I think Gama touched upon, is that it increases the energy usage. For example, if it's more heat, there are more people using air conditioning and fans at the same time, which increases power demand. Now that increased power demand means that there is more electrical production and chemicals used to cool. So there might be more coal burning, there may be more chemicals that are being released. These air conditioning units that are being used, they do emit heat as well, or steam. So that's another way that temperatures may rise. And this means that there are increased pollutants and greenhouse gases that are used in order to make sure humans are comfortable. Heat islands have negative health effects on humans. People feel dehydrated. They need water. They feel uncomfortable. They might have trouble breathing. They might feel tired or fatigued more easily or worse. And the people who are most at risk of this are children, the elderly, and those with existing health conditions at higher risk, which makes it harder for them to breathe or to move around or to ask for help. They are most at risk. And urban heat island effect is, we don't talk about it so much, but also reduces the water quality. What it does is, because it heats up the water, it causes higher water temperatures, which can interrupt or even kill aquatic life and processes. So it might cause problems. And also, an issue we don't really see it, at Pueblo del Rio or in central LA, but you do see in the mountains and the hills, is that increased heat, especially in areas that are dry, like the hills around Southern California, really, more wildfires are more likely to happen. So that's where vegetation comes into play. So, it can have very limited, very small effects, from making a parking lot near your house very hot, or it might cause wildfire in another area, which wildfires then in turn causes more air pollution, which just makes things worse. That's a short little discussion on heat islands. But sorry, any questions? I don't want to skip ahead too fast.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
So you mentioned blackouts being intentional and unintentional. Like, what's the difference between those two?
Yes. Blackouts being intentional or unintentional. By that, I mean that when say the public utilities or government estimates that more people will be using more energy based on temperatures, they're going to put out warnings. You might have heard about this in the news, especially on hot days. Like, oh, there's like a reduced energy usage warning, where they ask people to not use air conditioning during the middle of the day, or to put their temperatures higher. If it gets to a point where the system may be overloaded, then the utility will at times actually shut down parts of it to make sure that the system doesn't fail. And then unintentionally, equipment can fail. That can happen. If a wildfire happens and that affects a really big transmission wire, then a neighborhood may lose power. That's kind of what I mean by intentional and unintentional. But that's a good question. I hope that made sense.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome. Right, I see. Oh, Uciel. Oh yeah, Uciel. Some satellite images. What's a cold spot by the green circle, a park? Oh yeah. Yeah, as Uciel wrote, rolling blackouts can be done to reduce strain on the electrical system. Texas had this issue when the winter storm came by for the full week. That's true. I used to live in the Bay Area in the last few years, and we had shutdowns, or we were under threat of shutdown because of wildfires. So that can happen. But yes, earlier Uciel asked about this blue spot right by the green circle. And it looks like it's warehouses. That's what David wrote. And it's a vacant lot. So that could be it. I'm not sure exactly what caused it. It could also be the data may be a bit old. I don't know. Any other questions? All right, great. So I'll be moving on to talk about some of the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power financial assistance programs and other programs that are here to help you conserve energy, but also save money on your bill. So first of all is the low income discount program. That's for households with the income falls below these limits. Here on the left is a chart which I took from the LADWP website showing the current limits for income based on household size. So if it's a family of 4, if the income is below $52,400, they can qualify for this low income discount program. But additionally, customers who apply also have to provide proof of income regularly from everyone in the household. So it's not just 1 or 2 people. Let's say it's 4 people in this household, but 3 of them work, then you need income from the 3 of them. Or if they receive benefits, whether it's CalFresh or something else, they might have to provide proof of income as well. If you want more information about the program or how to apply, you should call the LADWP at 1-800-342-5397 for more information and to see how the program works. One thing to know is that this program cannot be combined with other financial assistance programs that are offered by the LADWP. So if you qualify for this one, then this is the one you want, then you're going to have to stick to this one. There are other programs that we'll talk about that people can apply to in order to reduce their energy bills, their cost. So another program is the Senior Citizen Disability Lifeline rate. It is a program that's run by the city of Los Angeles, I believe. It's for customers who are over the age of 62 or they're permanently disabled. And it can apply to utility bills such as gas, water, power, and telephone. So you can use it for many of the bills. The income has to be below $47,300 in the previous calendar year. I'm sorry, I don't know if that's for a family of 4 or less. That's my mistake. But what it does require is a proof of age, LADWP bill, gas bill, and a proof of income for each person in the household. If you want, so like I said, this program can apply to many utility bills such as gas, telephone, water, and power. So if somebody applies to the city of LA, they can provide all their utility bills and get a discount or a special rate for all of them at the same time. If you have questions, you can call the city of LA. They have an office where you can call during normal business hours. It's 213-978-3050 to get more information. And just for the record, this program and all the other programs I'm going to talk about, they can be combined. So if you have a household where somebody is a senior citizen, but also somebody else has some other, could qualify for another discount program, then you can have both of them or more. I'll talk more about these other programs in a bit. Another discount is a life support equipment discount. This is for households where someone requires regular use of essential life support devices. Some examples are electric wheelchairs, respirators, dialysis machines, apnea machines, monitors, and others. They have a longer list on the LADWP website, but you can also call and see if you might qualify for this one. This one can be combined with other discount programs too. So this can be very helpful for somebody who has depends on one of these machines or power. You can call the LADWP at 1-800-342-5397 for more information. Another financial assistance program is one, it's called the Physician Certified Allowance Discount. It's for customers who provide proof by a doctor that someone in the house is a paraplegic, quadriplegic, has multiple sclerosis, neuromuscular condition, a compromised immune system, or other life-threatening illnesses. So yes, this does require an official doctor's letter in order to qualify for this discount. And you need to call the phone number at the bottom, which is the same one that I mentioned before for LADWP. They can give you more information and instructions for how to apply and how to qualify for this program. Any questions so far? I know it's kind of a lot of information, just want to make sure that I'm answering people's questions about these financial assistance programs so far. Oh, let me see the chat. Yes, yes, as we mentioned, yes, please share about these programs with your networks, with people you may know, because there are many people who qualify, but they don't know or they need help in applying, and you should definitely help them and see if this can save them some money, make sure that they have fewer financial stresses as well. So yes, that's a good point. Thank you, Davi. The LEDWP has programs that help people save energy, water, and money. And that usually it's about appliances. So one program they have to replace old appliances is called Retire, where you retire an old working refrigerator and you recycle it at no cost for a $50 refund. You have to call these phone numbers from the LEDWP or their program partner, ARCA, which is the company that comes and will pick it up from you, from your house, and take it away, and will give you the $50 refund. The good thing is there's no application. You just have to call and ask them about this refund. I think the refrigerator has to be 10 years and older, and it has to be actually working. It has to be plugged in and make sure that it works, not just old and sitting in the yard. But if you want to replace or retire an old one, you can get a $50 refund, and this rebate can be combined with some of the other rebates and programs. So after you retire your old appliance, how do you replace it? There's also this program called Exchange, where you exchange an old refrigerator for a new energy serving refrigerator for free. The refrigerator that you're replacing has to be over 10 years old. And you also have to receive an LEDWP income-based discount, which we mentioned earlier, and not have participated in this program in the past. So let's say for example, if I had 10 years ago replaced an old fridge with a new one under this program, I can't apply again, now or 15 years from now. You can only use it once in a lifetime. But it's a good system, a good program in order to get a new energy saving refrigerator for free and use less energy and lower your bill. Call the LEDWP for more information. And there's also a link in the slide in case you want to see their website. Another recycling program from the city or the Department of Water and Power, replacing window air conditioners. Especially as it's gotten hotter and hotter every year, people buy these units that they put in the windows to get some air conditioning and get some coolness in their home. But they get old and they use up a lot of energy. So what the LEDWP offers is a recycling program, pretty similar to the refrigerator recycling program, where the LEDWP will take your old window unit from your house if you schedule it, or you can take it to a drop-off event if they have one. And as a rebate, you'll receive prepaid $25 gift card, and you can receive up to an additional $50 back when you buy a new energy efficient air conditioner unit, which I'll talk about in the next slide. The phone number is at the bottom, 888-388-6642 to get more information on this program. But this is just for exchanging your old window air conditioning units. So how do you qualify for a bigger discount when you buy a new appliance? LEDWP has this website called the Efficient Product Marketplace. Think of it as a shopping website for energy efficient appliances, and that could be washing machines, dryers, televisions, refrigerators, air conditioners, you name it. They have a bunch of stuff. Power strips, light bulbs, thermostats. They have a lot of different categories of appliances you can buy from them. Well, not from them, but through them. This website, it has a selection of energy efficient brands with information on whether they qualify for rebates. So it's a very easy way if you're a LEDWP customer to go on this website and find any, let's say, a new refrigerator, and you can see if you have a rebate and also how much energy it will save, and other features of the refrigerator. So it's a good way in order to save a bit more money. And this website also includes energy efficient products that do not qualify for rebates, but that are still very energy efficient. So this is a good way in order to, if you're in the market for a new appliance in the home, this is a good place for you to go and start your search and look for something that's that will give you either a rebate or at the very least will for sure save you some money and energy and reduce your energy usage. There's another program. This one's for renters. It's called Shared Solar. What this program is, it's for renters to sign up for electricity that comes only from new solar power plants. So part of the agreement is that if you sign up for this shared solar program, you have to participate for 10 years or as long as you're a LADWP customer. You pay a higher rate for, you pay the same, you sign up for a slightly higher rate right now, and you're going to keep this rate for 10 years, so it won't change for 10 years. So if you sign up for it now in 2021, you'll have the same rate until 2031. But what that means is that the shared solar price will stay the same for 10 years, but that other prices, such as for standard like coal or hydropower, will go higher. So it's that in the hopes, people sign up for it in the hopes that over 10 years they'll save money. This program is for renters, but it's also open to customers in certain areas based on zip codes of the city of LA. So they're given priority to participate in the program. Yeah, if you have questions, it's 866-484-0433. Another feature of this program is that, let's say you live near Pueblo del Rio and you rent a home, or yeah, let's say you rent a home, but then you decide to move to another part of the city of LA, like Boyle Heights or Wilmington. You can still keep this discount as long as you move within the LADWP service area and they bill you, you keep this discount for those 10 years. You don't have to stay at the same place for 10 years. So it can come with you. So it can be a help. Another program, one that actually Northeast Trees is one of the partners with this program. It's City Plants. You're going to hear a lot about this program, both at this workshop and at the second workshop. City Plants is, in short, free trees. LA residents can request free trees for their yards or to be planted in the street. Here, what you can see is a city plant tree that's planted out in the street. If the tree is for a private yard, then the owner, the person who requested it, has to install it themselves. But if the tree is going to be installed in the street, like this one, then City Plants themselves will install the tree. The hope is that either the property owner or renter takes care of the tree, waters it, make sure that it's if it needs some additional help, they can get some extra care. But it's a way to offer low water use shade trees throughout the city of LA for free. On top of that, the City Plants website and I think the City Plants staff also include caring suggestions to reduce the amount of water you use with the tree and throughout its life. So it's a very great program. They have numerous events about every week where you can get these trees for free. If you go on their website, they have a list of programs throughout the city. But again, you can also go to the website or call the phone number and just request it, and you can go from there. And yeah, I hear it's a very good program. Gama, do you have anything else that I'm missing or you'd like to add?
No, you got it. That's yep, that's what it is. Free trees.
Yeah. Free trees, great program. Yes.
Oh, and sometimes they give away fruit trees.
Oh, fruit trees. That's also very good. But yes, it's a good program. And again, you can also, if you're a renter, you can request it for the tree that's out in the public property like this one that's out in the street. And as long as you water and you take care of it, it provides free shade, and you help reduce the urban heat island effect throughout the city. Some other benefits of trees, Gamma actually, that diagram that he had kind of went into this, but trees have other benefits too, other than just saving you on energy. Like this one, this little map, it shows, they have evergreens on the north and west side. Evergreen trees are trees like their name, they're always green, so they don't shed leaves, but they can be planted as a way to, protect from the wind, protect from cooler temperatures. And depending on where you plant trees, you'll get shade at different times of year. But trees, as Gama mentioned, have other social and economic benefits, such as reducing stress and agitation in the community, making sure people don't feel fatigued if, let's say, it's too hot. It allows people an opportunity to experience and connect with nature, whether it's stopping to smell something, seeing a bird or some other animal in the tree. It's a way to bring nature back to the city. Trees provide privacy, and they can screen or enhance views, which is also another benefit as well. They help to reduce noise. That's also a great use for trees. They have increased property values. They lower energy costs, as we've mentioned. There have been some studies of trees, and one street tree is estimated to deliver about $2.70 in benefits for every dollar invested. Yeah, so these are just some of the benefits that trees have, and the way that we can use vegetation, trees, plants, etc., in order to reduce energy usage and make sure that we combat some of these effects of heat islands specifically, but there are other effects as well. There are other programs that LEDWP offers to reduce energy, water usage, and save money, but they're aimed primarily at home or business owners, which is why we didn't get into them too much in this one. We will talk about some of them at the next workshop in 2 weeks. But some of these programs that the LEDWP offers are, for example, they will help you, the homeowner, to get a free assessment and maintenance on the heating and cooling system. There are rebates for electric vehicles, both new and used. They provide new swimming pool pumps. They provide rebates for adding insulation in the attic or the parts of the home. They also help with financing for home repairs in order to make homes more energy efficient and better insulated. And they also have other programs that help with replacing lawn, which requires a lot of water, replacing that with California, not safe, but California native or California adapted plants that use less water, that survive and thrive on reduced water on drought conditions. We're going to talk a little bit more about those programs in the second workshop, but this workshop focusing on energy and conserving energy, it's a way to connect you with these programs that can help you save money, but also replace some of the power hungry appliances at the home, and help you save money in the long run, but also make sure that you're running a good home. Are there any questions, any suggestions? Anybody want to talk about anything? Please feel free.
I have another question.
Yes.
So you know how there is a program of receiving a free tree? Is there any special requirements to qualify? Do you have to be a certain age or have a certain income for it?
If you're talking about city plants, my understanding is no. City plants is open to anyone, not just property owners, but renters as well can request it. But if you're a renter and you want to install a tree in the private property, you should probably talk to the owner. It's a nice thing to do. But yeah, it's not based on income. It's not based on any application. I think you just have to call them, give them your address, and schedule the appointment and the installation. They can come and install it. But if you have, if you can water the tree, that's great. Just that's about the only requirement. They'll give it to you. They'll install it, but as they'll give you information on how to take care of the tree. But this caring is up to the resident, whether it's a renter or a homeowner. So yeah, it's for everyone. It's because otherwise, if it was based on income, then would just reinforce the same thing that Gama mentioned, where people who had the money and can afford to take care of a tree would request these trees, and then people who don't would not be able to get the tree. So this is a way to make sure that everyone can get a tree, especially in like low income neighborhoods, which are usually the ones that have the fewer trees, as Gama mentioned in one of his slides. So yeah, it's for everyone. It's a great program, regardless of income, ownership status. Yes.
Okay,
I would add.
thank you.
Oh, go ahead.
I think she just said thanks.
Yeah, I would say it's an interesting case with the public people in public housing. The owner would be Hakla, and we will be planting, and we do plant in the public housing. We actually do street tree size trees. So the one in the picture, they're a little bigger in the public housing. So if you're like in public housing like Pueblo de Rio, you can't request a tree like a small one, because then you would need to get Hakla's permission to do it. If you want a smaller plant, I know that some you can get the 5-gallon, but we also give away native plants, small native plants as well if you volunteer with us, and you will be hearing more about that.
Yeah, thank you, Gama. Great. And yes, go ahead.
I'm so sorry, but I also have
No.
another question. So, I know they mentioned like they sometimes give fruit trees, but is there like equal or more benefits that fruit trees provide compared to like regular trees?
Yeah, that's a good question. That is the big debate amongst, like, I guess even DWP. So there we do consider the difference between fruit and shade trees. Shade trees are we would do more for like energy conservation, but fruit trees they don't get too big. They're actually small, and they actually even do science to kind of connect the roots of one tree to the top part of another tree to create like smaller trees. It's like this really amazing thing that they do, is to keep them small. So the benefits are different, right? And fruit trees would be more like they keep you healthier, right? You eat it. But then the shade trees would be more energy conservation, and there is a big difference.
Thank you.
There was a comment in the chat from Kelsey. Is there a correlation to urban heat islands and redlining? Is there a certain agenda into which the areas are developed and become what we know as urban heat islands? It's a great question. So redlining, for those who don't know, is like a, is a sort of, originally was a sort of system used by the federal government in order to determine what areas would qualify for federal home loans in order to build newer homes. This was primarily in the 30s and 40s, before and after World War II. So another cause of redlining is that it generally meant that upper class, even middle class people, generally white, moved out to new suburbs, leaving central areas of cities like Los Angeles, kind kind of empty, and they became lower income neighborhoods, usually for immigrants or migrants from other parts of the country who didn't have much money. For example, African Americans from the South during the Great Migration, Japanese Americans, Chinese Americans, Mexican Americans, and other immigrant groups from the last century or so. Now, the correlation between urban heat islands and redlining is that, in general, it does seem that that they seem to be related, where neighborhoods that were redlined that didn't get a lot of investment back in the 30s and 40s and 50s are these older neighborhoods that have less space, and therefore, because there's less space, there are less trees, and there are less of a lot of things, including trees. Because if you have a very small yard or a very narrow street, you can't really plant a tree there, or if it gets too big, it's cut down. And yes, additionally with redlining, it means that there was also industry would center or get concentrated around these redline neighborhoods. So yeah, industry also adds to the urban heat island effect. So yeah, I do think there's a correlation, but urban heat islands just, I think, depend a lot on how just places are built. So even if you're in a new suburb or a nicer suburb, but it's all parking lot or street, then it's going to be just as hot as a parking lot in like Watts or Pueblo del Rio. But yeah, there are definitely other places where there is a connection, especially with relation to water and open space. Sorry for the long answer. That's a great question. Thank you. Anyone else have a question or a comment or anything you'd like to know more about or want me to clarify? We have a number of, we have about 20 minutes left. All right, then. Seeing none, thank you for joining this workshop. If you would like to join this Saturday's workshop, feel free. It's 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at, I think, using the same Zoom link. It will also have the same presentation and information as today. Because it's on a Saturday, I hope that more people from the community will be able to join. But it will be the same information as today's workshop. And the second workshop is going to happen in, oh my God, I didn't fix the dates, my mistake. It's actually August 10th and August 14th from 6 to 8 p.m. on Tuesday and Saturday, August 7th. Actually, let me go back to the schedule. Here we go. The next workshop in 2 weeks, Tuesday, August 10th, 6 to 8 p.m. and Saturday, August 14th, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. That one will focus on water conservation. So how it is that landscape design and changes in the landscape, such as trees, bioswales, etc., that can work to reduce water usage, and not only reduce water usage, but also make sure that we capture water and we use it instead of just letting it go, which is what usually happens in urban areas. It just runs off, goes into a storm drain, and goes straight into the ocean without being cleaned. So how it is that we can use plants in the natural world in order to clean water, hold it, and use it for the community's benefit. And what it is that people can do in order to reduce their water usage. And we will also be talking a little bit more about the wider project, the South Central Los Angeles Greening Project, which is Northeast Trees planting about 600, 700 trees in the area around Pueblo del Rio. And we'll also talk about the survey, the anonymous survey in English and Spanish. So if you know people, please tell people around your community to come and assist and learn more about energy and water conservation in these and other workshops. If you have more questions, most of the people here are part of the youth team, but you should always feel free to give out my email to anybody who's interested in this. So they can learn more, and they might also want to email David if that's the case. I'll be happy to talk to anyone, either in English or in Spanish. But yes, please tell people in your community to come. If there's any more questions, please let me know. I'll be around for a few more minutes. Otherwise, thank you for coming and have a good night, and hope to see you, if not Saturday, in 2 weeks then. Oh, by the way, I also want to say thank you to Gama for presenting for Northeast Trees. Thank you very much. And also to our interpreter, Elizabeth, in the Spanish channel. Thank you again. But again, thank you, everyone. And I'll be here if you have any questions. Otherwise, have a good night, and thank you for joining us.
Good night, everyone.
Night, y'all. Thank you so much.